Thank you for checking out Lakehead International's videos. You're about to watch one of our Lakehead International live webinars, a fun and informative way to learn more about Lakehead while also meeting faculty, staff, and current students. If you have any questions throughout today's video, please comment below. Otherwise, let's get started. Hello everyone and welcome to another Lakehead International Live. My name is Jordan Ball. I'll be your host today. First and foremost, I want to take this opportunity to say hello and welcome to our audience, whether this is your first live webinar or one of many that you've participated in the past. We're happy to have you. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're joining from. We are definitely excited to share more about our hometowns in Thunder Bay and Orillia here in Ontario, Canada. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jordan Ball. I'm the International New and Social Media Officer here. I'm based on the Thunder Bay campus, and I am lucky to call Thunder Bay my home. But I'm also joined by two current students in Orillia who are based on our Orillia campus. First, I'll pass over to Dawn V to say hello and introduce herself. She'll share a bit about her program that she's in and where she's studying from or what country she came from. And then we'll introduce our next guest after that.
Hello and good morning, everybody. My name is Thanvi, and I'm one of the international students here in Orillia campus. I'm doing my undergrad in environmental sustainability, and I'm originally from India. So currently, I'm in the third year of my studying, and I'm in love with Orillia and Lakehead.
Great. Well, thank you again for joining us, Don B. Next, we'll pass over to Aditi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aditi. I'm an international student from Mumbai, India. I'm currently in my fourth year, so just one more semester to go, and I'm majoring in media, film, and communication. I have been loving Aurelia so far. As Danvi said, it's a very small town. The community is really nice, accepting. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what questions do you guys have further.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us. I'm certainly excited to have two students, one in her final year, which is really exciting. I know that you said you have one semester left, so it's sad for us because we're going to lose a great student, but exciting for you because the path forward and the future you have in store is certainly going to be hopefully fruitful. In terms of an agenda, first and foremost, we'll kick things off and I'll actually chat about upcoming events in the Lakehead International Live series, just to give you a teaser as to what's next. And then we'll shift gears here and we'll chat a bit about Thunder Bay. So all things Thunder Bay, history, recreation, and entertainment. And then, of course, our campus located here. And then we'll take a pause there. We'll actually do a live question and answer period. And then we'll chat a bit about Orillia. And again, we'll chat a bit about the history of Orillia, recreation, entertainment, and Lakehead Orillia, the campus itself. At that point, of course, I'll invite my two guests to share more details about their Orillia experience, and they can jump in and always add feedback throughout that portion of the webinar as well. So before we actually dive into our hometowns, first I'll chat about Canada. I'll set the stage to help you familiarize yourself with where you're potentially choosing to study. Of course, we are always excited to chat about Canada. We're quite proud to call it home. But for those who don't know what we're all about or what it's like to live here, we always anticipate or encourage students to envision an opportunity where you're going to be able to thrive in a safe, peaceful, and an inclusive society. Of course, Canada is one of the safest countries in the world, and we're also a fairly young country. And so with that being said, being a younger country, we celebrate diversity in who we welcome to Canada and who we call our neighbors and our fellow citizens. So as an international student, you'll hopefully feel welcome and happy in our peaceful nation. To go above and beyond that, of course, I've wanted to include a few rankings just that speak to us that are not from me. They're from bodies that actually recognize different values. So we are recognized in the top 2 best countries in the world, top 11 most peaceful countries in the world. And we actually ranked in the top 5 out of a list of 89 different countries around the world for the best quality of life. So I think that also helps speak to hopefully what you're setting yourself up for in terms of the future. Another important thing that we recognize though is when you choose Canada, we also know you're choosing employment. And so you'll have an opportunity to earn while you learn. So international students can actually pursue part-time employment during their post-secondary programs for up to 24 hours a week, and then during any scheduled breaks. So that's reading weeks. If you're an undergrad and you have the summers off, you can actually work full-time hours, which will help you gain knowledge and skills and hopefully that experience of the Canadian work force that hopefully either you can bring back home if that's your intentions, or in the other case, you'll be able to stay in Canada and use a postgraduate work permit to pursue further employment. Of course, all of Lakehead's programs are eligible to be considered for the maximum postgraduate work permit for 3 years. This will help you gain, again, knowledge, skills, and experience from that Canadian employer that will benefit you whether or not you choose to stay in Canada or return home after that. And as the story continues, if you choose to stay in Canada, by completing a Canadian university degree, you actually receive extra bonus points towards your permanent residency application. Now, Canada is a very large country, and we are just one small province of it. But being in Ontario, we recognize that, of course, we are currently the #1 destination for international students. They see the value in choosing our province because of several factors. I think typically it often comes down to maybe the employment rate, and that's okay. We recognize you are investing in your future by studying at Lakehead. You're paying quite a bit of money to secure a coveted Canadian degree. And so studying in a province that has the strongest employment rate or the highest employment rate for university graduates is important. Across the board, there's an employment rate of 95.1%. Lakehead goes above and beyond that, and I'll share more about that in the next slide. And you can learn more about that, of course, through other webinars that we host dedicated to careers and services. Housing is certainly available in our province, and more specifically, I like to actually say it's housing is available in our hometowns. Thunder Bay and Orillia are removed from some of the larger city centers. We are smaller communities, and we're proud of it. But what that means is that oftentimes housing is more accessible, and if it's not off-campus housing, on-campus housing is certainly an option for you. We have dedicated dorms for our students in both campuses, and we have several housing options on our Thunder Bay campus. And last but not least, I jumped over it, but I'm coming back to the idea that we deliver quality education here in Ontario. All of our public universities are accredited by rigorous quality assurances through the Ontario Ministry. And so that helps you have that confidence that my program was only allowed to be published and invite students to join because it's gone through a lot of quality assurances to make sure that there's job outcomes at the end. There's going to be a career path for you. Now, if you will, imagine a university where we have a high focus on research, and we also are really proud of our rankings of being a smaller institution. So we're top 3 in research in Canada. We're the #1 university under 10,000 students in North America. We're in Canada's top 10 universities and #1 in Ontario. And as I noted earlier, we are actually at 97.4% of our students employed within 2 years. So we're just above that Ontario average or that provincial average, which is something that we're certainly proud of. We do also want to note that we have over 9,000 students currently studying at Lakehead. Of those 9,000, 1,900 of them are international students. Of course, that is spread across 2 campuses, but between the 2 campuses, of the 1,900 international students that are here, that represents over 80 nations from around the world, which is pretty exciting. It showcases a diverse student body. And all of those students are, of course, getting to experience a pretty unique experience with that being small classroom sizes. So our student professor ratio is 15:1 on the Thunder Bay campus and 13:1 on the Orillia campus. Both campus experiences are fairly intimate in terms of being able to walk into that first year lecture and not being in a hall filled with 500-600 students, but rather perhaps being a part of smaller classrooms where, maybe there's 50 to 100 students even. But especially, and I think a DT might be able to touch on this, as you get into your 4th and final year or even your senior years, classroom sizes get smaller, and that's the best part, in my opinion. We'll leave it at that, though, and we'll shift gears here, and I'll start to introduce you to Lakehead through the lens of what is it like to live here in Thunder Bay or Orillia. So Lakehead University is far from ordinary. If you have not already applied, then you, of course, are ready to begin your adventure. But If you're still in the process of deciding, which I'm sure many of you are, we're here today to help you better understand whether or not Lakehead is the right choice for you. And then we'll encourage you to ask as many questions as you want. This is your opportunity to make things exciting and learn more about what's next. So I wanted you to take a moment to think about your university years. Do you want them to be typical or ordinary or just like everyone else? Or perhaps do you want them to be extraordinary and exceptional and perhaps unconventional? Imagine, if you will, a university that provides a transformative education that's far from ordinary and a place that's filled with adventure and excitement. A classroom that takes you into the beautiful surroundings and uses it as a natural laboratory to enhance your studies, as well as an education that shapes you and your future using world-renowned facilities and researchers that will both challenge you but also guide you in whichever area you wish to pursue. A community, of course, that supports every kind of team and is proud of its students and all of their accomplishments. At Lakehead, we have a lot to be proud of. And like I said earlier, with our rankings being top three in research in Canada, number one in North America, and top five in Canada, and number one in Ontario for a general ranking, these are some of the things that we're proud of. Other things is we're actually recognized as one of the top five hidden gem universities in Canada. And we're so looking forward to welcoming you to the Thunderwolves. With that being said, to help you better understand and just to introduce our campuses a bit more, we do have two campuses here in Ontario, Thunder Bay and Orillia. So you can see, I know Toronto for many of you is probably the city that you're familiar with, whether it be you have family there, whether it be you've heard of it, you've seen it in TVs, you've seen it on movies. It is Canada's largest city. However, we are located just 90 minutes from Toronto. For Orillia, it's a 90-minute drive, and for Thunder Bay, it's a 90-minute flight. Being that we're not in Toronto, but we're still accessible to it, our cities and our hometowns offer friendly, safe, and inexpensive experiences in comparison to the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. So this is where I now get excited because I get to share more about Thunder Bay and my hometown. Of course, I will do my best to keep an eye on the Q&A and the chat to see what comes through. But there will be a dedicated portion at the end of Thunder Bay's slides where I'll answer any questions related to that. So all about Thunder Bay. The city of Thunder Bay is actually the largest city in Northwestern Ontario, situated essentially in the heart of Canada, with an incredible art, film, and culinary scene, and one of Canada's greatest outdoor cities. It's perfect for those who are not so outdoorsy as well. Located on the shores of Lake Superior, the world's largest freshwater lake, Thunder Bay is actually in the geographic center of Canada, with the border of the United States just 45 minutes south of us. And the Thunder Bay International Airport receives daily and direct flights to Winnipeg and several Ontario destinations, especially Toronto. Thunder Bay is sometimes called the Lakehead because it's at the head of the Great Lakes. Thunder Bay is located on Lake Superior, as I noted before, and it's surrounded by parks and wilderness areas. Major industries in Thunder Bay include transportation, manufacturing, education, mining, and forestry. Some of the quick facts that I have for you is that we have 7 shopping districts, 3 major airlines, over 200 restaurants, 20 plus annual cities, festivals, and events, 305 days of sunshine. And a little history fact for you is that Thunder Bay actually is 2 different cities that amalgamated many, many years ago. So humans have been living in this area for over 10,000 years, and stones, tools, spearheads, axe heads, scraping implements have all been found and provide valuable clues into the early days of life here in Northern Ontario. One of our hometowns, or one of our previous cities, was named Port Arthur. It was actually named after the Prince Arthur, son of Queen Victoria in England. So Port Arthur thrived as a transshipment and grain handling port for the CNR Railway. And after the railway line was opened to Manitoba in December 1901, we became a major shipping port responsible for moving projects from Western Canada through the Great Lakes, and it still does to this day, and then onward through through to the St. Lawrence and out to the Atlantic Ocean. So Port Arthur was designated the administrative center for Thunder Bay District, and Fort William, our second hometown, if you will, was named after the fur trading settlement that formed at the head of Lake Superior, which was the canoe route from the Great Lakes to Western Canada began. In 1970, that is actually when Thunder Bay amalgamated and became the city that we know it today. So, Thunder Bay, this is my hometown. This is a view of our waterfront, and it is quite spectacular. It's vibrant, diverse, and inclusive. The waterfront provides a really unique experience and opportunity with dozens of businesses. The waterfront district is both a historic location for Port Arthur and offers really wonderful variety of activities, including dining and shopping and options essentially for everyone to get out in and enjoy. Prince Arthur's Landing, which is actually the waterfront area and recreational space, is filled with year-round excitement and fun. There's steps away from the shores at the waterfront district, which is home to so much. In the summer months, there's boats that fill the harbor, ocean-bound ships that come and go and help us with our industries. And there's also the smells and sounds of many festivals and events that fill the air. Families tend to enjoy the splash pad and the diners and enjoy restaurants and outdoor patios. Live on the Waterfront is a really popular event here in Thunder Bay, and it's a free concert series that's over 100 years old, where award-winning touring acts take the stage to entertain the Thunder Bay crowd. And in the winter, that same splash pad actually becomes an ice rink with a fireplace in the center and winter fun days take over. So you'll have an opportunity to try potentially snowshoeing, dog sledding, fat biking, and even more. And what's great is it's all for free. The City of Thunder Bay put that on to keep us entertained. And you'll even perhaps be able to check out the annual snow sculpture competition as a part of Snow Day, which is a really incredible event hosted in February each year. Coming very soon, if I'm not mistaken, it's anticipated to open as early as later this year or early next year. I could be mistaken, so don't quote me on that if you arrive in September and it's not yet ready. But the Thunder Bay Art Gallery is renewing its connection formally with the um, waterfront, and it's actually usually using formerly industrial space while providing a modern space that celebrates the gallery's diverse collection of art. The main hall is designed and influenced by strong Indigenous narrative and embraces the surrounding landscape with its spectacular views of Lake Superior and Nanabiju. As I noted, the district down here, the waterfront district, is really great for eating and shopping. This is just one of the outdoor patios of many, but it's home to some of the best dining in town, in my opinion. It has something for every palate, essentially, from fine dining to hot dogs to pubs and gelatos. The food scene is really thriving here in Thunder Bay. You'll have an opportunity to shop down here with premier shopping areas that include boutiques, specialty and antique shops, children's stores, hair salons, tattoo parlors, and so much more. One thing that I also truly appreciate about Thunder Bay is our access to recreation. So this is Boulevard Lake. It is a large public park area located in and maintained actually by the city itself. The park is centered around Boulevard Lake, and the main park is actually 74 hectares in size and area and features things like playgrounds, a sand beach. In the summer, you can go swimming there, canoeing, kayaking, and other water sports. There's mini golf, tennis courts, pickleball courts, picnic tables, concession areas. The list goes on essentially. But in the past, one of the main events that's actually hosted on Boulevard Lake is dragon boat racing. So typically in late July, there's the Thunder Bay Dragon Boat Festival. And that really brings out some really incredible experiences for students and citizens of Thunder Bay to try that out or test it out and also enjoy live musical performances. Thunder Bay actually itself has over 100 parks and more than 32 kilometers of paved recreational trails that typically connect a lot of the parks to each other. So you can start at 1 in the morning and venture across the city into the afternoon. Another unique experience or something to see in Thunder Bay is the sleeping giant. The Sibley Peninsula, or as I refer to it as the sleeping giant, is well known in Thunder Bay. It's actually a natural rock formation that's in the shape of a giant sleeping person. The rock juts out into Lake Superior, and there are many stories around this landmark. One Ojibwe legend identifies the giant as Nanabiju, who turned to stone when the secret location of a rich silver mine, actually known as Silver Islet, was discovered to voyageurs. It's now a part of a national park, and you can camp, canoe, bike, hike, all things around this incredible landmark. Other things to do in Thunder Bay would include something like the Fort William Gardens, which is a multi-purpose arena in Thunder Bay, and it hosts large sporting events, concerts, conferences throughout the year, and it's also home to the Lakehead Thunderwolves hockey team. They are an incredible hockey team. They're currently in the playoffs right now. The men's hockey team typically has 20 plus games here at the Fort William Gardens, and these games are really great for students to get out and experience what is Canadian hockey. I'm sure you've seen it and heard that it is our national sport. Although it's technically not, it is something that I think in every Canadian we feel a little connection to hockey, whether it be the pride of watching and cheering on your fellow classmates, or perhaps trying it out for yourself one day. Students actually that live in residence here in Thunder Bay will have an opportunity to sit with all of their housemates and peers, because they will actually get a dedicated section during these games, which is pretty cool. In Thunder Bay, we also have some interesting geographic locations, such as Mount McKay, which is a large mountain in the south core of our city. And it's host to actually a lookout that you can see the entire city, and it's quite beautiful. It is also host to several Indigenous events like powwows, and it's located on the Fort William First Nations. Nearby is the Loch Lomond ski area, which I'll chat about in just a minute. But do want to take a pause here and chat about some of those cultural festivals and events that you could perhaps participate in. So from music and cultural festivals to food events, there's typically something going on almost every weekend in Thunder Bay. As they know, we have Live on the Waterfront, and we also have different music festivals that come to Thunder Bay, and we have street fairs and busker festivals, all things that you get to experience the cultures of the world without ever leaving the city. There's also things like Festival of India and Festa Italiana, and for those who enjoy good grub, there's Rib Fest, which is a big hit with many of our students. So Loch Lomond is something that I showed you in a previous photo, but it is one of the local ski areas. So if you want to try your hand in snowboarding, skiing, this is potentially one of the locations, but better yet, we even have two ski areas. So this is Mount Baldy. If snowboarding and skiing is not to your cup of tea, we also have tobogganing here at Mount Baldy. And typically, whether it be residents or whether it be the student union, we organize events to come out to these ski areas, bus you out there, and then get a couple hours on the hill. Now, you may be wondering, I've heard a lot about Thunder Bay. Tell me about the campus, Jordan. Let's hear. So, Lakehead University is actually situated in the heart of the city. Fields and green space surround our campus and building and are conveniently located in one location to create a true campus feel. Many of the university buildings are grouped around Lake Tamlin, which is what you see here. And our residence complex has actually hugged the banks of the McIntyre River, and underground tunnels connect many of the main and centralized buildings on campus, allowing for easy access between classes and facilities. We also have paved trails that surround the campus and make it a perfect place to take advantage of the beauty of the area. Whether you want to go for a quick walk, jog, rollerblade, bike, or even in the winter cross-country ski in between classes, that's potential that you have here. Thunder Bay is home to over 7,000 students, and we have over 100 hectares of campus space. So to help you envision where is it, when I say we're in the heart of the city, I do mean the middle, I do mean central location. So you can see again, Thunder Bay is quite wide because we had that two hometowns, originally Port Arthur and Fort William, as we also refer to it as the North Core or the South Core. Smack dab in the middle, though, is Lakehead University. Getting around town is fairly simple. We have public transportation, a full busing system that all students will have access to. Undergraduate students will get a bus pass as a part of their tuition, and graduate students can opt in for a significantly reduced rate on an annual basis. Here's a better photo of our campus, though. When you first arrive here in Thunder Bay, you're probably going to fly to us, and you can get to our campus in just 11 minutes. So you can see I drew a little dotted line there to the airport. It's fairly conveniently located, but also for your first arrival, only 11 minutes to get here. But perhaps if you want to head home for the holidays, or if you're taking a break and you want to travel Canada, also convenient to head to the airport yourself. Taking a better look at our campus, as I noted, all of our academic buildings, or a vast majority of them, are grouped together. You can see where I've noted main campus. We have our athletic facilities as well as our residence buildings there. Here's another angle of it so you can see some more residents on the other side of our campus. And then we also have our Faculty of Education located over here. But just showing you and setting the perspective. And last but not least, before we wrap things up on Thunder Bay and take some questions, and I'm saying that so that hopefully folks will jump in and start posing questions if they have any about Thunder Bay. Our proximity to access things that are a necessity to everyday life, such as grocery stores, shopping centers, entertainment options, are fairly convenient. So the closest grocery store to campus is about 2 kilometers, or a 20-minute walk, or perhaps a 5 to 10 minute bus ride. And that's going to be Superstore. And then we also have Walmart, Indigo, Best Buy, Staples, several other options to continue your shopping. And that's about 2.5 kilometers. At 3.5, we have the Intercity Shopping Center. So that's a very large shopping center with 50 plus stores, and certainly a lot of variety for you to shop at, find whatever you may need. Number 4 is a different shopping center that is more of like a district and has plenty of stores. And then located off the screen, but to the left of the shopping mall, is the Cineplex movie theater, which is one of my favorite things to do, especially on Tuesdays. It's cheap night here in Thunder Bay. And so Tuesday nights is a good night to go catch your favorite movie or the new releases at a discounted rate. So with that being said, I'll pause here. I'm going to flip to the Q&A and just see um, what sort of questions we have. And I'll also open the webinar chat. Okay, so this first question, I submitted my application for a PhD in electrical and computer engineering, and I already have talked to my supervisor before submitting my application. It's been 2 weeks since my application is under initial review. How long does it take for graduate application to be processed? That's a really great question. So given the fact that you said it's under initial review, that actually means it's with the Faculty of Graduate Studies. What they're doing is they're looking at your application, they're looking at the documents you submitted, and they're making sure that you satisfy the general admission requirements to Lakehead. Only after they satisfy, or they're satisfied that your previous studies meet our admission requirements will they actually pass it on to your supervisor in electrical and computer engineering. At that point, it will be moved into the stage called department review. Given that you've already talked to a supervisor, I would assume that perhaps they may be able to process that more quickly. However, I would note typically graduate applications can take several months before they're processed and before a decision is reached. So although you've only applied 2 weeks ago, have patience with us, and we'll do our best to work through it as much as we can. This question, I submitted my application for MBA on the 17th of February. How long does it take to process that application? Similarly, we're looking at only about 2 weeks here since you submitted that application. So have patience with us. We are doing our best, of course, to process applications as soon as possible. You can monitor your application status right within that same graduate application portal, and you can stay abreast to whatever announcements come out. But I would imagine that most likely once it's past initial review, the Faculty of Business Administration will be able to review your application in a fairly short time. Is there any trains to reach campus? That's a great question. So in Thunder Bay, there's only regional trains for industries, so moving product, all that sort of stuff. In Orillia, though, there's no trains that are going into Orillia on a regular basis. However, Orillia is just 20 minutes from a larger city center called Barrie, and Barrie has access to the GO train system, which is Southern Ontario's main transportation hub. And so students oftentimes, and this is what I've been told, I've never lived in Orillia myself, I've visited several times, and I absolutely love it. Um, Students will typically take a bus into Aurelia, which is about a half-hour journey, and then they'll get dropped off at the station. And then the station or the train ride into Toronto is a little over an hour. So maybe I'll look to DT and I'll get her to clarify. Is that correct? Or what's been your experience if you've taken that journey yourself?
Perfect. So I think the information that you gave was very insightful and you were right about it. And I also wanted to add on to it. So we have a Simcoe County Airport service that's a really affordable means of like getting to any places near Simcoe. So it's like if you plan to like come in a group, like it would be much cheaper. But if you're planning to travel individually as well, it's much more affordable. And it's
Great.
very safe, and they help you load your suitcases into the car as well. And yeah, and you can book it through their websites as well. I can add the link into the chat.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much, Aditi. Danvi, I'll pass it over to you to share more as well.
Okay, we have a couple options here. So you can choose to come in a lot of ways. One, which I prefer, is we have the Ontario Northland bus, which is direct from Toronto. So it takes approximately 2 hours to reach here. You start at Union Station in Toronto and then you hop on the bus. You don't have to get down anywhere. You don't have to change the buses. It's a direct bus and it gets you to downtown Orillia straight. Then, like Aditi mentioned, we have the Simcoe County service. So we have Simcoe County Link X buses that run to Barrie. So they run in like every 1 hour and they run straight from the university campus. So you don't even need to go anywhere. You just hop on the bus, go to Barrie, and then get on a GO train to go to Toronto. So it's pretty easy. Or you could always get a ride from Toronto straight to Orillia, which is also which would save you time. So it would save you approximately 40 to 45 minutes. But all our options are very safe, I would say, and very accessible to everybody. Like myself, I was a new student here. I was in Thunder Bay before, and then I moved to Aurelia, and I had a lot of stuff with me, and I was so worried how I'll go back to the Aurelia campus. But as soon as I reached Toronto, I had so many options that I wasn't worried at all. And I was here within like 2 hours. I didn't even notice, no troubles caused. So it's very chill. You don't have to worry about anything. And you like once you get here, you kind of know how to, go ahead. So, yep.
Great. Thank you. I'm going to jump in and I'll answer some of these questions in the Q&A. And then we're going to switch gears to Aurelia, but there's going to be another opportunity at the end of the Aurelia slides to ask more questions. So stay tuned, folks. But let's do our best to power through these. I'm coming in the May intake. How do I register for courses? And maximum term there is for a graduate program. So if you are looking to learn more about course registration, I would encourage you to connect directly with your graduate coordinator or your supervisor. Course registration for master's students is pretty specific in terms of making sure that you enroll in the right courses and that you're on the right academic path forward. So that's why I'm encouraging you to connect directly with your grad coordinator. They'll have more details and they can certainly assist you in that process. What is the difference between on-campus and off-campus residency in terms of cost and finding? I mean, to be frank, the cost to live on campus versus off campus can vary quite widely. On-campus residences in Thunder Bay and Orillia typically will include that meal plan, and so the costs can look more expensive up front. When you actually weigh your options and you determine a lot of different factors. There's a cost to that convenience of living only a couple minutes away from your academic services. So I would encourage everyone to consider pretty intensely what is most important to them. Is it paying a little more to live on campus, perhaps, and having meal plans and access to dining services? Or is it more important for you to live off campus, to be able to cook your own meals, save a bit of money, but also you'll have to consider the commute and finding roommates. We always encourage students to live on campus at least for their very first semester, if not first year at Lakehead. That will help you settle in. Moving to Canada is no small feat. So settle into Canada, get to know your new hometown and your home community, perhaps find and build incredible friend groups here. Um, and then once that's all said and done, at that point, perhaps then you could explore off campus more easily. In terms of finding those accommodations, it's pretty straightforward when it comes to on campus. We have our on campus residence options. We advertise them. The applications will most likely open, I think, within the next week or so for fall intake. And that's that. It's not hard to find on-campus residents. We only have a select number of options. Finding off campus, though, it can be quite an intense task, and that's also why we encourage students to do it once they've actually arrived in Canada, and never ever, and I want to make this clear, pay any deposits to secure housing before you have actually seen the house in person and you've arrived here in Canada. A couple more questions, then we'll take a pause on those and come back to Orillia. This one says, how much do we pay for the bus? So for undergrad students, it's built into your tuition. It's a part of your student fees. And then for graduate students, you pay a fairly nominal fee. If I'm not mistaken, it's around $150 Canadian for 1 year of bus passes, or for access to the public transportation system. With that being said, I'll take a moment to remind viewers that is significantly discounted because an annual bus pass in our hometowns, for myself, just being a resident of Thunder Bay, would actually be close to $1,000 roughly. So it's a significant discount to say the least. That I hope that helps them. And last but not least, this says I've been assigned an email from the university without any decision on my application. What does that mean? We assign a Lakehead University email to all applicants, and that's actually because we start emailing you immediately after you apply in that Lakehead email. So if you have not yet opened it, and you have not been monitoring that Lakehead email yet, I would encourage you to do that as soon as possible, because that's going to be somewhere that we share critical information. All right, shifting gears and moving on to Orillia. I'm sure Aditi and Donvi are ready to jump in and are excited to share more. But first and foremost, let me give you a bit of the overview. So people who live in Orillia experience, in my opinion, and many of their opinions, the best of both worlds. Orillia is less than 90 minutes from the Greater Toronto area, but even though through growth and progress, the city has seen in recent years, as we refer to it as the Sunshine City, it's worked really hard to retain its small town charm and has captivated generations of people. The city of Orillia is located also in the heart of Ontario's Lake Country, on the shores of Lake Couchiching and Simcoe. With a population of over 30,000 people and access to several cities nearby, Orillia is able to offer students with big city amenities in a fairly intimate setting. Some of the top industries in Orillia include healthcare and social assistance, public administration, retail trade, accommodation and food services, and manufacturing. In 1969, Orillia was actually incorporated as a city, and before that, Orillia was a village, and then it became a town, and so many other things. So, history of Orillia. Due to logging and rail links with Toronto and the Georgian Bay area, Orillia became a commercial center and the summer resort in the mid 1800s. Orillia was founded as a village in 1867 and incorporated as a town in 1875. Its history is deeply tied to water. Situated in the Narrows, where Lake Simcoe flows into Lake Couchiching, Orillia was a gathering place for centuries before Europeans used it to bring fur trade to market. Sir John Simcoe, first governor of Upper Canada, actually fostered permanent settlement in the area, and it's now treated or used as the gateway to Muskoka region. It has been home to lumber, manufacturing, and artistic endeavors for years. The name likely derives actually from the Spanish word for the banks of the river, the shore, like Orillia. The name was given by Sir Maitland, who was the Lieutenant Governor of Upper Canada in 1818 and who had served actually in Spain. Fun little history facts. So Orillia also, as similar to Thunder Bay, has a waterfront. We are both very deeply connected to our water systems here. Orillia's waterfront is home to numerous events and festivals every year. The waterfront includes more than 21 acres of park space at Centennial Parks and Couchiching Big Beach Park, and it's a focal point for the community and special events as well as festivals. For myself and the Lakehead team, when we travel to Orillia, which is fairly frequently, this is one of our favorite spots to actually come to and unwind after a long day at work. We might grab a coffee or a sweet treat and then walk around down here. If it's not down here, though, we're probably downtown because Aurelia's downtown is an incredibly charming streetscape. This is actually a photo from Mississauga Street. It's highlighted by more than 150 stores with 30 plus restaurants. It's the perfect place to find specialty items and gifts and then relax with friends and family over spectacular meals. From pizzas to burgers and several delights. You'll find something popular down here that is unique and all at a decent price point typically. And if you have a sweet tooth, there are a number of bakeries that pride themselves on making handcrafted treats that you won't find anywhere else, including dairy-free and gluten-free options as well. One of my favorite locations down here sells an incredible donut. I'm the name is not going to come to me at this point because it's been a while. It's been since August since I was in Aurelia last. But one of my favorite coffee stores is down here, and I can't get enough of the restaurants. There's a really incredible Italian restaurant. I probably shouldn't name drop and give anyone favoritism. But you can do your own research and you can try them out yourself, hopefully, when you arrive in Aurelia. Aurelia also has access to several parks and recreation areas, including Scout Valley, which is a 230-acre city-owned oasis. Scout Valley is located on the southwest edge of Orillia and is actually just minutes away from our campus. There's three loop trails in Scout Valley, which are dominated by mature deciduous forests, and it's also a refreshing spring water and has a small stream that runs through it. At the top of the hill, there's even a lookout with fine views across Lake Simcoe and Lake Couchiching. Another really incredible area to experience, as I noted before, is Couchiching Beach Park. It includes the town dock and sandy beach areas that attract many to the lake each summer, and it's home to several special events. The Rotary train run by the Rotary Club of Orillia is stationed at Couchiching Beach Park and brings joy to many visitors during the summer months. It actually starts running around the end of June until the beginning of September. And it's a stone's throw from downtown, and the waterfront is also home to French's hot dog stand, which opened in June 3, 1920, and conjures up images of bygone era. Located beside scenic Couchiching Beach Park, there's eateries, chairs, tables, all welcomed at the Stephen Leacock Museum, and generations of residences and visitors have experienced just this. Located outside of the Raleigh area, but also a really unique experience for students looking to experience winter and Canadian winters. There's Horseshoe Resort, which is a popular destination for residents of Raleigh as well as Barrie. And even in Toronto, people come up here. Has over 28 different runs for skiing and snowboarding. There's groomed Nordic trails, a terrain park, a snow tubing, snowshoeing, fat biking, golfing, man-made lake, indoor and outdoor pools, treetop trekking, and so much more. This is an incredible experience at Horseshoe Resort. If that's not to your liking, there's also Blue Mountain, which is even larger and is very popular among residents in the area. It has over 40 runs with a variety of different experiences and also different levels to challenge you. I would suggest starting on the green, the Bunny Hills, just to get your feet on the ground and understand what it's like to ski or snowboard. And not only do they have the ski hills, though, they also have year-round adventures, including canoeing, kayaking, treetop climbing, scenic caves, golfing, snowshoeing, and they even have an indoor water park, which is pretty cool. Of course, you're probably wondering, I've heard about Orillia now, but Jordan, where is the campus? So Orillia's campus is growing and vibrant. It's a close-knit community located in the heart of the city and offers more than 17 undergraduate and graduate degree programs. It's home to over 2,000 international, 2,000 students. It has an on-campus residence and dining space. So looking at that, this is, and I like to note always, this is a Google Earth screenshot. It's actually quite outdated at this point. All of the green space you see around campus is starting to fill up. There's quite a bit of development in the area. So we were one of the early adopters to this area referred to as West Ridge. But we are seeing incredible growth around us. So don't be fooled by that abundance of open space. We simply can't keep up with the development happening. Our campus was originally built in 2010 here in Orillia, and since then we've had hundreds of homes built around us, in addition to new restaurants, new stores just across the road. Our campus, as I noted, is in an area called West Ridge on the west side of town. It takes less than 15 minutes for us to get from our campus to downtown via bus. And during orientation, you'll receive your student ID as well as that bus pass or that sticker that allows you to access it throughout the year. And within 5-minute bus rides, you'll have access to many stores and amenities that are critical for your success here at Lakehead. Looking at the campus itself, right now it's 3 buildings. We have a residence, a cafeteria, and bookstore, as well as an academic building. Soon to come and being built just beside the academic building is our 4th building on the Orillia campus, which will expand student support services, Indigenous spaces, student spaces, as well as academic programming. So there's going to be a lot packed into that one building, with plans, and I don't know if this is premature, but there's plans for even more buildings here on the Orillia campus. This is a really exciting opportunity for our students and our faculty and staff that call Orillia home, because we have seen a really great success. And I think it's probably a lot to do with the students that get to call Orillia home. They have great things to say usually about the experience, and so that's why everyone's flocking to Orillia right now, and it's great to see. To set the stage, though, in terms of that proximity to amenities, as I noted, across the street is Costco, and that's going to be one of Canada's most popular grocery stores, I'm sure, and it's really great for buying large quantities of items at discounted rates. Number 2 is the shopping center that includes Food Basics, Sport Chek, Best Buy, Fit for Less, and many, many restaurants. Number 3 is some more grocery stores, and then number 4 is another shopping center with Walmart, Winners, Staples, I think Dollarama too. I could have that in the wrong location, but nonetheless, the point being made here is there's access to a lot of a lot of amenities in and around Lakehead's Orillia campus. I'll pass it over to Donvi and Aditi to perhaps jump in. If you have anything to add here, if you want to remind our viewers of anything, now's your opportunity, and then we'll switch over to the Q&A as well.
Oh, I cannot stop thinking about like all the poetic stuff when I talk about Aurelia, because it's like it's a gem of a town with a lot of art, music, bakeries, fun all around the place. We have a rich cultural heritage. So the town is actually referred to as the Sunshine City, and which is inspired behind Stephen Leacock's classic. I think I might get the name wrong, but the name is Sunshine Sketches of a Little Town. So it's a beautiful city. We have vibrant festivals. So Orillia is like the original home of the Mariposa Folk Festival, which is one of the North America's oldest and most celebrated folk festivals. We have like it's been celebrated here for over decades now, and it has featured legendary performers like Bob Dylan, Gordon Lightfoot, and uh, it continues to attract music attraction. It's a big thing here in summer, so like everybody's so invested and having a lot of fun. We have lots of outdoor recreation, like you mentioned. beaches, parks, and even if you just want to like not do anything, roam about in downtown, it's just the perfect spot. So everything is very close to the university, so you don't ever have to worry about getting anywhere. Everything is in like 15 minutes of proximity, and we have very good regular bus services. So, and you get the buses straight from the university, so you don't even have to wander around anywhere in the city to get buses. It's all direct, straight, and very accessible.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the arts and the culture and entertainment that's thriving in Orillia. I always think it's really funny to think of the idea that our two hometowns, being that they're quite small in terms of especially coming from Mumbai, yourself Aditi, and Ganvi, I don't know where you said you were from. I know
Delhi.
India.
Yeah.
Did you say Delhi?
Yeah.
So two incredibly large cities, but many of our international students come from similar circumstances. Their hometowns are millions of people, and so they're coming into a very unique experience. And oftentimes the general thought is, oh, like there's going to be nothing going on. There's going to be like nothing to do in these small hometowns. Well, I mean, 100,000 people and 30,000 people respectively in our cities don't call it home for any other reason than they love it. There's something calling them to our location. And when they call it home, they make it home by filling it with those events and activities. So I know it's hard to explain, and something that you really just have to experience, but we'll leave that to our audience to decide if that's right for them. And we're going to segue into our question and answer period now. So we'll take about 5 minutes to take more questions and give you answers, and then we'll wrap things up as we reach our time limit. This first question is from Pamela. If I've already applied to Thunder Bay, how do I move to Orillia campus? I applied for compressed nursing program for context. Pamela, I don't blame you. I'm sure I upsold Aurelia quite a bit on this webinar. Unfortunately, we don't offer the nursing program right now in Aurelia, so you would not be able to change campuses. But I would encourage you, Pamela, at any point, if you want to chat with one of us about Thunder Bay, if you are thinking, hey, Aurelia sounds really great, like well, I would actually rather be there. Given that you won't have that opportunity because of nursing not being available, chat with us and let's chat about your hesitations in Thunder Bay and we'll help you determine whether or not Lakehead is the right fit for you. A similar question. This one actually says, "Can I change from the Thunder Bay campus to Aurelia for MSc Civil?" Depends. A vast majority of your programming and your access to any of our research facilities related to that program, civil engineering, will be on the Thunder Bay campus. So I would doubt that they would approve that. However, if you're doing thesis based in the MSc program, there is potential to do your research outside of the campus environment, although we don't strongly encourage it. So I would connect with your supervisor just to better understand what the expectations are. Does master's students in Thunder Bay have summer breaks? No. So, master's students or doctoral students, your number one job, essentially, in the eyes of the academic world or higher education is your studies. So, you do not receive any breaks. You have a three-term academic year. So we have our fall term, which begins in September and ends in December. You have your winter term, which begins in January and ends in April. And then you have your spring summer term, which begins in May and ends in August. So aside from maybe a few days off in between those breaks, and of course, there are scheduled reading weeks in the fall and winter, you, as a master's student, would not have any time off. This next question, thanks for this loaded, informative presentation. Will you kindly share it with us after? Absolutely. So we're recording right now, actually, and we're going to publish it on our YouTube channel for you to access at any time you would like. Of course, watching it again or hearing what I share throughout the webinar about our hometowns may spark questions, and I hope it certainly does. Anytime, connect with us, ask your questions, if you have hesitations, bring them forward to us, and we want to address them to make sure that you feel confident in your selection of Lakehead University. This question from Faraz says, "Hey, did you say that registration for on-campus residence will be next week for fall 2025?" I did. Don't quote me on that. I'll say it should be. I've been told that it's coming very soon. Actually, last week I was told within the next couple of weeks. However, with any process, there could be hiccups along that journey. So keep an eye out for it. Keep an eye on our social media. Follow us at Lakehead International, and we'll actually announce when that residence application opens, and then you can register for residence as soon as it's up there. Can you please tell about co-op terms at Lakehead? That's a great question. So, co-op is actually the cooperative education program. It is a paid work experience formally built into and recognized in your program, where you'll actually take a scheduled break from your studies and then go out into the world of employment, and you'll work for different lengths of terms. So in some programs, you might actually do 4 blocks of 4 months. In other cases, you may do up to a 12 or even a 16-month co-op. It really varies based on program, so I would encourage anyone who's interested in learning more to go to Lakehead's website and explore co-op education, and to also verify what programs are offered. Last question for today. How much total amount to pay for 2 years in the Masters of Science, Computer Science course based? Unfortunately, I can't pull that out of the top of my head, but I will share a link with everyone, and I'll share it both in the chat, but I will also say it live now. It's lakeheadu.ca/tuition. It's pretty straightforward. It's a link that brings you right to our website, and you can use the fee estimator there to help determine the costs of your education at Lakehead. With that being said, folks, thank you again for joining us. It's been my pleasure to be your host. I want to encourage you to follow us, to stay connected on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. You can find us at Lakehead International. We've talked a lot about our hometowns and a little bit about our campuses. If you would like to check out the campuses themselves, you can head over to lakeheadu.ca/tours and explore those buildings and facilities. Otherwise, with that, I'll say thank you to my student guests. It's been my pleasure. It's good to see both of you. Thank you again. And hopefully we'll get to work with each other soon enough. And to our audience, thank you for your time. And hopefully you were able to learn more about Lakehead's Thunder Bay and Orillia campuses. On that note, bye for now and see you next time. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, I want to encourage you to comment below or connect with us on social media. We can be found at Lakehead International on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Thanks for watching once again, and hopefully we'll see you at the next live webinar. Bye for now.